Welcome back to the channel. New video. This is going to be the first video in a series of videos, I think, guys, on work on the front end of this thing. Obviously, as you can see, I've already started, so planning on doing quite a bit of work to the front end. So this first video is going to be concentrating on getting the front subframe down. I'm going to get the subframe down along with the steering rack. Steering rack will come down with the subframe, I think, because I want to send that off for a refurb. Got a little tiny knock on the steering rack. So yeah, get that sorted. The subframe is probably going to be sandblasted, powder coated. Probably going to poly bush it as well. Not quite sure yet, along with the arms. I want to get the cats down. I've already had the front cat off, but I want to get the back cat off as well this time. And when the cats are down, I want to get those exhaust manifolds down as well, front and back, and have a go at porting them. Also want to look at the coolant system. So, you know, none of these jobs I'm mentioning, there is nothing drastically wrong with any of it. It's just me being a bit fussy, and I just want it absolutely tip top. But I did a lot of work to the coolant system in 2021. Had a new pump, thermostat housing, and expansion vessel, oil cooler pipes, a couple of other bits and pieces, but I didn't change the rad. So what I'm experiencing is this rusty looking water, is discolored water, looks like iron oxide. So yeah, I'm suspicious that original rad, which is like 19 years old now, it's got a load of rubbish in the bottom of it, and that's what's giving me this discolored water. So yeah, take it all apart, drain it, flush it, new rad, new oil coolers going on as well, and new starter motor. And I think that is probably about it. That's the bulk of the work in the engine bay. I also want to address the suspension. Again, nothing horrendous, nothing that desperately needs doing. I just want to, you know, make this thing as good as it can be, basically. So I made a few comments about the suspension on this thing in a previous video, the remat video. So yeah, the suspension is basically a little bit soft. There's a genuine Ford setup at the moment. Spent a lot of money getting it genuine. I wanted this thing genuine originally, as genuine as I could get it. But that suspension, yeah, those springs are just too soft, basically, I think, for the car. They don't match the performance of the engine. So yeah, I mean, it's not you know, quick. This thing by today's standards is not, you know, crazy quick or anything, but it's quick enough to yeah, get you in trouble, you know. So yeah, I want to change the springs. I got eyebacks going on all around, eyeback lowering springs, and I'm also going to put 20 mil wheel spacers on. See if that sort of like stiffens the suspension up a little bit, make it a little bit more planted in the bends. That's what I want. I just want a little bit more reassurance at speed. So yeah, all that, get that done by next April, because that's when this thing's getting MOT'd again, ready for next car season. Because I went to a few car shows last year and it was brilliant, absolutely loved it. I was in the element, looking at all the old Fords and stuff, and yeah, big shout out to any of you lads that I was talking to last summer. I think a few of you were subscribers to the channel, so thanks very much for that. Thanks for supporting the channel, much appreciated. And yeah, that's it. That's basically the plan. Some milk. So it's a couple of breather hoses, one to each rocker cover, and then you've got the inlet manifold vacuum hose, if that's what they call it. Right, I've done that clip, undone that clip. I've taken the MAF sensor plug off, and this whole box should come out now as a oneer. Right, so in typical fashion, I've lost a load of footage, and the footage I did get was a load of shit. So I'm going to go through this again just quickly. I've just put everything back together again loosely, so I'll give you guys an idea of what you're up against again. So as you can see, airbox is out, battery trays out and all that. That's quite simple. That's quite straightforward enough. So this is just to point out a couple of things you might struggle with a little bit, not horrendously, but so this battery tray, a little bit of a pain in the ass to get out, mostly because there's a couple of bolts down there. I don't know if you can see. There's one there, and then there's one down there as well. So they're hidden when this is in position. When the fuse box is in position, usually, you can't see them. So there's a little 8mm bolt just there. You need to get out. That fuse box moves out of the way, and then you can get to those bolts. There's also some other bolts as well there, and there's a couple on the side there, and then the battery tray will come out. Just while we're there, while we're talking about that, these bolts down here on the side of the inner wing, they've actually got earth cables bolted to them as well, and they're the root of a lot of electrical problems. So if you've got electrical problems, you've got electrical gremlins, sometimes these can be the problem because they get corroded quite badly. So yeah, just like I said, get your battery out just there where I'm pointing, there and there underneath these looms. They corrode quite badly because it's all in the battery area. As you can see, this is pretty, I'm gonna have to clean all this up. So yeah, that's that. So the intake, I'm going to take the intake off because I want to get the cat out, the back cat. So I'll just quickly go through that. So there's the two throttle cables there. So they're fairly straightforward to come off. It's sort of like a, you know, there's a nipple on the throttle, the actual throttle, and that plastic thing sits on there. That little metal sleeve sits over the top of it, just slides over the top, and it sort of locks it in, you know, if you can see what I'm saying. And the same with that one, it's like a keyhole sort of thing, if you see what I mean. Pretty straightforward enough, that's not too bad, that shouldn't cause you too many problems. As far as the intake manifold, so the brake servo, so the vacuum pipe of the brake servo, that causes people a few issues. So where that goes into the top of the intake, you have to push down, let's get out of the way a minute, you have to push down on a little plastic collar there, push down and pull up on that at the same time. But mine's always trying to push over that way, pull over that way, sorry. So you're trying to pull it out on a bit of an angle, so it's a little bit awkward, but yeah, a little bit of penetrating fluid on there will probably help you out. You've got a couple of plugs, one for the idle control valve, is it, I think. Another one for the throttle sensor, throttle position sensor. Obviously that comes out of the duct, the intake duct. Yeah, so around the back there is that purge control valve. And again, you've got another breather pipe which goes into the underside of the intake manifold. There's two pipes. I don't know if you can just about see them there, I think. So one pipe is for this little red straw that goes to the fuel rail. Again, it's either a vacuum or a, yeah, it must be a vacuum, because that's the fuel pressure regulator. Is not actually, as a damper, but everyone calls it a fuel pressure regulator. So that little red straw there, I put zip ties on mine, like so. One side goes to the fuel rail, that fuel regulator, and the other side goes to one of these pipes off of the, let's get it off a minute, one of those pipes that you see where I've just taken it off just there. And that, oh, the end's just come off, just dropped on the floor, but that is that little red straw. Not a lot, but that can cause a lot of people a lot of problems. Gets full up with oil sometimes, that, and that is an indication, I think, your PCV valve is faulty. Well, the other pipe at the back there, I don't know if you can quite see it again, but it's that one there, and that is for the purge control valve. So get that off. So obviously you've got your these are, they go to your inlet hose. You've got one for the front cam cover and one for the rear cam cover as well, which is that one there. I'll take it off the cam cover once the inlet manifold's out of the way, but for now I'm just concentrating on getting the inlet manifold out of the way and disconnecting all the breather pipes and vacuums and all the rest of it. So I'm just giving you an idea what you're up against. The PCV valve is going to be difficult to show you because it's right tucked down in there again. So that goes round from the PCV, which is situated down there. I don't think I'm going to be able to show you. I think, yeah, you're not going to be able to see it. But anyway, it disconnects down there. It's quite simple, straightforward, just another push fit in. Most of these are just push fittings. So yeah, those little 8mm bolts, there's 6 of them in total, go along there. Just get those out. That bar come out then and give you more access around the back here for this. That is actually a 13mm studded bolt. So it's got a little 10mm thread on the back of a 13mm bolt. So yeah, I'll show you that. It's easier to explain, but yeah. So once you've everything disconnected, you've got 4 of these 8mm bolts that go along the front of the intake manifold, and then you've got one either side, that side and that side there. So yeah, now I think we're ready for that intake to come out. Right, so that should just lift off, he says. And that's it, it's off. So a little bit clearer now, you can see what we're talking about. So there's the PCV that I'm talking about. There's that one there. So that goes on to the back of there, on the back of the intake manifold. So that's that one. Again, just push fit and they just pull off. Dead easy, that's out of the way. There's your purge control valve. That goes onto one of the little pipes on the bottom of the intake manifold. I'll show you that in a minute. So I'm just going to tuck that out the way a little bit for now. Here's one of your cam cover breathers, the rear cam cover breather. I'm going to get that out of the way a minute as well. The front one as well, get that out of the way. Like I said, electrical connections, and that's it. That's the, so there's the bracket for the 13mm bolt that I'm talking about. Let me show you where. So there you go. Your bolt screws in there, obviously, with that bracket behind it. You tighten that up, and once you've got that bolt tightened up against that bracket, then that P-clip then will sit on to that thread on the back of that bolt. Once you've got the P-clip on, then you can screw your 10mm nut on, and that's that wiring loom secured. jollop. Yeah, that's one out. I'm not going to be able to get that top one like that though. Where am I? Yes. Right, so it's a T35. On the other side, that's a T35 bolt. So yeah, track rod end 15mm. Right, he's off, but that ain't gonna come straight out of there, I can guarantee it. That's gonna take a little bit of persuasion, so I'll bring it back. Right, so we're looking a bit clearer now. Obviously, drop link off, track rod end off, calipers tied up out of the way, look. The ABS cable's out of the way, and I've got a bolt undone for the ball joints. So really, the only thing that's stopping this subframe from coming down now is the 4 main bolts and the steering column bracket inside the car. So I need to undo that first. I also need to tie the radiator up before I start dropping the subframe. And the other thing I want to do is get the power steering fluid drained. So I'm going to have a go at getting that heat shield out there, I think, before I even start thinking about dropping the subframe. I don't know if that's the right way to do it. I don't know, like I said, winging it, and but yeah, I'm going to get that heat shield out of the way, because behind there is the power steering fluid pipe joints, which I'm going to undo eventually once I've drained the power steering. So yeah, I'll have a little look at that and yeah, bring you back. There we go, and fluid everywhere. Actually, it's not too bad. Right, let's get this out. Get that down underneath the car. Oh, there it goes. Right, don't know if you really caught that, but I should have got some light on the scene, but there you go. There's that little nipple, if you like, the pipe's just come out of. A little bit of fluid, a little bit of a mess, but whatever. Same underneath the car. It's gonna happen, innit? Shit happens, as they say. I'll let that drain a minute and start turning the steering wheel from lock to lock. Get as much of that fluid out of that steering rack as I can. Right, underneath the car again, just doing some more prep work for getting this subframe down. I think this is the last job now. I think this is going to be about it, I hope. So basically I want to take down the steering rack with the subframe. There's a couple of 80mm bolts which attach the steering rack to the subframe, which in the past I've struggled to get on them. I did this job on the TDCI and I couldn't really get on as yeah, I'm worried that so they're quite tight, and it just always feels to me like you're going to round the head off, you're going to slip off, you know, because they're awkward. I'll try and show you in a minute, but yeah, I'm going to try doing it this way. When I did the TDCI, I left the steering rack hanging, so I took those 80mm bolts out, but on this one I think I'm going to take the rack down with the subframe, but that means disconnecting all the power steering pipes from the steering rack. So before you do any of that, you've got to get this heat shield out of the way. which is held on by a few fixings. There's one there, one little 8mm bolt there. That's easy to get to. There's another 10mm nut just there, again easy to get to, but there's a bracket around the back which I'll try and get you in and show you. Right, so I'm facing the other way now. I got the camera, so this is the bracket I'm talking about here. It just bolts onto the back of the subframe, look. That little 8mm bolt. What I'm using is a extension bar with a wobbly bit on the end, look. O-ring on the wobbly bit, so you can keep it in the same position. So basically, the twat is that bolt up there. I don't even know if you can see it now. Can you see it? You can't see. How about there? Can you see that? So I'm just on it now with that socket and the wobbly bit. And it is doable, but it is a pain in the ass, guys. I've got to be honest. Let me see if I can I've just started it. I've had all this out before again. Same deal, boys. I'm cheating again, but trying to do this for real and film it at the same time is a pain in the ass. So I'm doing the best I can, bear with. But basically that's him, he's out, look, he's out. The bracket, easy enough, comes out. Now you're free to get that heat shield out. So here we are, back around the other side, looking from front to back at a car. Now, this should just pull out now. And there you go, it's out. So once you got that out, there's the steering rack. Hang on, a bit of light on the subject. Right, that's the business end there, look. Right, so I think that's your return pipe. I'm pretty sure I'm saying I think, but it is. And then just above, you can't really see it, is the high pressure power steering fluid pipe. So can't speak. Basically is all held down. See, I've just prized it apart there. You can see that gap. So that there is a female T40 bolt. You need to get that undone. And that's like holding a clamp. That's clamping down on both pipes at the same time, if you see what I mean. But I'll get that out in a minute. But basically the way I got that out was again a T40 bit on a wobbly bit and an extension bar, and I push the extension bar up there and cracked it off top end up in the engine bay. So yeah, I'll just set up and show you what I'm on about. Right, okay, there you go. So that's a T40 bit on. 3/8 drive, by the way. 3/8 wobbly bit. And then if I show you above, so yeah, there's the extension bar. You got to try and get that as straight as possible. Try and give you a look down there, see what you can see. Don't know if you will be able to see. I think you can just about see at the bottom of the screen that. So there's my wobbly bit, and that's got a T40 bit on it, and that's sat in the head, that female T40 bolt. So yeah, that's how I cracked it off, because it was tight. It was like snap tight, that was. But like I said, you've got to try and keep that bit on the bolt head and pull it out a little bit so you can get your ratchet on. But yeah, that was tight. So doing it from down below, I don't know, I think you'd struggle, to be honest. But yeah, that's the way I did that. Right, so once you've got it cracked off, then obviously get your extension bar out of the way. Yeah, there you go, look. And again, I don't know if you can see that, but I've got a little O-ring. I've got a black O-ring on this, and that just helps keep the wobbly bit in the same position. That O-ring's a bit knackered. Now I need to put a new one on, but yeah, that's not a bad little tip. Little O-ring wrapped around there. Look, I don't know if you can see. Anyway, so next stage of the operation. This is fiddly, guys, but so little mini ratchet and a T40 screwdriver bit, which I've cut down to give myself maximum access up in there. So that's righty tighty, lefty loosey. So let's see if I can get on it. This has got to be one of the worst parts, I think, about getting this front subframe down. I think other people have covered it. I've done videos on it, but I just want to sort of go into a bit of detail. This is the fiddly bit, doing all this shit. Once you're on there, once you've got the bit in there, you're on, you're away, like, do you know what I mean? But it's just getting it in there. You're not going to be able to see, sorry guys, but needs must. Right, that's it, I'm on. Can you see that? Right, I think, yeah, so that is quite a nifty little tool. Made my day, that did, when I got that. 15 quid off the bay. Yeah, did make my day, sad but true. Anyway, so this bolt is now loose as you like. So there you go, he's out. That's him. So once the bolt is out, you'll probably find this is quite tight here. So you'll see what I'm on about in a minute. It's got O-rings on it, so basically just gently lever them out. I mean, that's a lot easier than what it'll actually be. So there's the high pressure. And if you see what I mean about this clamp, look, I don't know if you can still quite see it, but that clamps onto there and they both go in the same, in one hit, like, you know, with the one bolt clamping them down. So another quick little job just to get the steering column disconnected from the steering rack. It's that 10mm bolt there. So you need to undo that and get that little bracket swung out of the way. So it's completely free, allowing the steering rack to be dropped with the subframe. Okay, so a little bit more prep work for getting the subframe down. The wiring harness, it runs along the front of the subframe. You don't necessarily have to take this out, but I want to take the radiator out and stuff, rather than leaving the radiator hanging, because it's supported by the subframe. So once I take that subframe out, you know, the only other way is to leave it hanging, and I, you know, want to take the radiator out anyway. So all the wiring for the radiator, i.e. the two fans, the fan resistor, and also the cat plug. There you go, comes out as easy as that, look. And also the AC compressor. So those are quite easy. They're all quite fairly straightforward, or they were on mine anyway, on my car. So there's the loom I'm talking about. It just unclips under there, look. There's a couple of little holes, these little tree press-in fittings, like those there, look. I don't know if you can see, it's just all along the front of there. You just have to pull them all out and then start unplugging stuff like what I'm saying here. The front cat AC compressor plug, all easy enough. The ones I struggled with, it was just what I'm getting around to showing you, are the actual fan plugs themselves. So I don't know if you can see, it's got a bit more light on there. So there, these look. I did struggle to get those out a little bit, but there's a little tab you have to push in. Same deal, guys, you know the crack. You have to push the tab in and pull out at the same time, but that was a lot easier said than done when I actually came to do mine. Same on this side. You've got that one there, same deal, but that one's actually broken. That was broken previously. So again, pull it out. There's also a plug for the radiator resistor. That needs to come out. So once you've unplugged all those, there's the loom there, ready to come out. And I'm going to just pull that out through the wheel arch just to get it right out of the way. Right, just a quick one on these front subframe bolts, guys. The bolts at the rear are a big long 21mm bolt. Go up through the chassis. There you go, that one there. Quite a long bolt, goes up through the subframe, up through the chassis rail. Don't know if you can see that hole there, but if you get a torch set up like what I have. So yeah, there you go. There's the thread of the bolt and there's the nut. So that nut is supposedly like an encapsulated nut within the chassis rail. And what happens a lot of time is that thread of the bolt will get corroded quite badly over the years. Someone comes along, tries to undo that bolt, all the shit and corrosion's getting dragged through that nut, puts a lot of force on that tin cage, and it ends up snapping, and that nut ends up spinning inside the chassis rail. So now the bolt's loose, subframe's loose, you can't tighten it back up again, and you can't take it out because it's all spinning. So what a lot of people do is they end up cutting the car about. They either cut this open here to get access to that nut, or inside the car, driver's footwell, carpet back, cut the floor in the driver's footwell again, get access to that nut, hold it, get it out that way. But if I was you, I'd do everything to avoid that at all costs, really. So basically what I do is I get a wire bottle brush like that, just big enough to get through that hole, and I go on one side of the bolt and then I go on the other side of the bolt, as much as I can, the entire length of the bolt, as much as I can, you know, up and down. Try and turn the bolt as well, penetrating fluid all the time, plenty of penetrating fluid in there. In fact, I would spray it down days before you're attempting to take these bolts out and take the subframe down. But yeah, just plenty of backwards and forwards with the wire brush, with the bolt as well. Turn the bolt backwards and forwards, just get it nice and loose and freed up, nice and clean. Clean those threads up as much as you can with that wire brush. Like I said, go on one side and then go on the other, turn the bolt slightly, undo it if you can, quarter of a turn, half a turn, do the same, go back in. Do you know what I'm saying? So you get the full 360-degree rotation of the bolt clean, and the length of the bolt as well. So now all I'm going to be doing is getting these bolts loosened out. I've got my jack in place there, a bit of timber, obviously a little bit overkill, that timber, but still. So yeah, these 21mm bolts and these little 10mm bolts, both sides, that all needs to come out, and then the frame will be ready to drop. So normally I'd say whatever you do, do not gun out these 21mm subframe bolts. I know, I'm confident, I've already had them out several times. And I know. I know they're clean and they're good, and that's how they should come out, ideally. Power steering fluid pissing out again. Right, I'm hanging on these ball joints now, so Right, here we are, frames out of the car, obviously, as you've seen. I just wanted to cover a couple of things before I finish the video, guys. So, first thing, the radiator, I didn't show getting the radiator out or leaving the radiator hung up. You can hang the radiator up if you just want to take the frame out. I wanted to drain the coolant system, and to do that I needed to undo the bottom hose off the radiator, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. You have to put quite a lot of force on it. So I wanted that radiator fixed while I did that, and it's not really fixed as such, but it just sits in those brackets on the bottom in the front of the frame. So basically I wanted that radiator solid while I undid that fitting, so that's the reason I did that. Like I said, the alternative is you can just leave the radiator hanging. I'll go into a little bit more detail on the coolant system video. I'm going to do a coolant system video, all the things I'm going to cover in that. So the other thing I want to quickly cover was the steering rack. So you've got two choices. You can either take the steering rack down with the frame like I've done, or you can leave the rack hanging underneath the car. So like I've done, like you've seen earlier, I think this is a preferred method, to be honest with you. I've done it both ways now, and I think this is better. So taking the rack down with the frame, you just have to undo those power steering pipes there, those power steering pipe fittings, which is tricky, but it's doable. The alternative to that is to leave the rack hanging in the car, which is okay, but you have to undo these 18mm bolts. Now, they're quite a big bolt, and they're quite a big torque spec on them. I think this is probably the best thing you'll find for undoing them, one of these long flexi ratchet spanners. But what you will find is when you're underneath the car, the spanner has to be on quite an angle down like that, and when you put in quite a lot of force on that spanner, it tends to want to tip the spanner head like that. I don't know if I'm really catching it, but if you see what I'm saying. And it makes you feel like the spanner's going to slip off. I did slip off once or twice, to be fair, when I was doing the derv, because I left the rack hanging on the derv. So yeah, just be mindful of that. Just be a little bit careful that you don't slip off, because like I said, those bolts are tight, and if you're straight like that, there's not a problem. But when the spanner's down like that, which is it needs to be when you're underneath the car, when the frame and the rack's on the car, that's when you start getting problems. I thought the spanner wasn't fitting on properly, but it's just because of the angle, you know, and it's giving it all that. But yeah, that's it. Just be careful of that and you'll be alright. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, the first video in the series, and see you in the next one in a bit.